My biggest hurdle when it comes to gaining elo has never been the usual stuff like cheaters, cheesy opening traps, or just sucking in general. It's performance anxiety. Not just in chess, but in almost every elo based game I play, ranked anxiety has always seemingly affected me much more than it should, where I would sometimes not play the game for months at a time. If you've ever taken a break from playing because you just reached a certain goal and did not want to lose that feeling of accomplishment, you've experienced this form of performance anxiety, albeit probably in a much healthier way than me. Recently, I've managed to overcome this weakness with a very simple solution, but before I reveal it, we need to first identify what causes ranked anxiety in the first place. First, I want to briefly address the many people who seem to think this anxiety comes from players wanting to show off their chess.com rating, and not being at that elo anymore would somehow diminish their accomplishment. Well, I sincerely hope that no one is flexing their chess rating out there, and of course, no one's character should be judged based on the number in the game, but I still find these comments telling people no one cares about their rating, so neither should they, very misguided. I think there is nothing wrong with players being prideful of achieving their elo goals, whatever it may be, and the source of anxiety, in my opinion, is completely unrelated to the elo itself. And besides, I don't know about you guys, but if someone told me that they were a very high rated chess player, I would definitely be very interested. What inspired me to make this video is this Reddit post. In the comments section, a lot of people seem to give this guy a similar solution, which can be boiled down to a change of mindset. Stuff like, don't play for elo, play because you love chess, or play unrated games for a while to stay sharp. I'm not saying these solutions are wrong, but I think they fail to identify the problem at hand, because obviously, if changing our mindset was as easy as that, no one would have this problem in the first place. I'm sure there exist people who read these comments and it completely changes their improvement journey, but to me, it feels a lot like a if I could, I would type of solution. And I don't know about you guys, but I find it much more difficult to improve at anything when I don't care about the outcome and have no stakes in getting better. I believe the first cause is the uncertainty of chess. Ranked anxiety is a lot more prominent in League of Legends because there are 4 teammates you have no control over who can int the game on a whim. But even though chess is a deterministic 1v1 game at its core, when you queue up for a game, there are still many variables you cannot control. Your opponent could be Hikaru doing a low elo speedrun. You could be having a terrible day performance-wise. No, wait, what am I doing? Oh, okay, FF. Your opponent might be playing an opening that counters you specifically, or in Kramnik's case, all your opponents could be cheating and your hand starts cramping from starting too many procedures. It's this uncertainty that fosters anxiety through loss aversion. Assuming you are playing at your respective elo, your odds of beating your opponent are very close to 50-50. And if I ask you to gamble $10 on a coin flip, most people would only accept this gamble if they profited $20. In other words, losing feels twice as bad as winning feels good. But as we all know on chess.com, you only get +8 -8, not +16 -8. Looking at the definition of anxiety, it's no wonder this phenomenon is so common. If you look at the Lichess rating distribution, you can see a lot of people who sit at exactly 0-0, indicating that they got that rating and just stopped playing. So our solution must somehow remove this uncertainty from the equation. Perhaps the more important cause of ranked anxiety is satisfaction. Those of you reading Blue Lock right now will know where this is going. Notice how this person, and many others like me, only experience this while they're peaking out of their minds. If I'm like 100 elo below my all-time peak, I will feel zero anxiety about queuing up for a game. But otherwise, I might end up being in this hypothetical scenario. This is a great recipe to be stuck at the same elo forever. Step 1, reach your goal. Step 2, stop playing and sit on your rating for months. Step 3, become washed and go on a massive losing streak. And step 4, repeat the cycle. The fear of losing and the joy of winning are two sides of the same coin. Ranked anxiety tends to hit those who get the most dopamine from seeing +8 and the most despair from seeing -8. A lot of people who don't experience this anxiety always seem to think it stems from an obsession with elo, when in reality it stems from an addiction to winning. It doesn't matter what rating the player is at, winning at anything will bring them joy, and getting elo out of it only multiplies that feeling. And, well, +8 might give some dopamine, but nothing beats the feeling of achieving a certain goal after a long grind. Players seek this thrill more than anything, which is why I genuinely believe these videos promising a quick and easy 15-minute guide to reach a certain elo are so popular because they prey on this feeling. And once you reach your goal, what happens next? Those who set a new goal and keep grinding forever will become even stronger, but what about those who are satisfied with that elo? As Ego once said, an animal with a full stomach forgets how to hunt. The context here is very different, but I think this absolute fire of a line still applies. Our solution must prevent this feeling of satisfaction. An interesting solution I came across on a forum a few years ago was to instead make the number of games played your objective. This way you continue playing even if you reach a certain milestone, but I find this unsatisfying because if I fully adopt this mindset, I will continue playing without feeling any drive to get better, and the game will start feeling like a chore more than anything. And believe me, as a Genshin player,
oh, hell no.
When the game you play becomes a chore, you more often than not quit the game, which is worse than what any ranked anxiety could ever do. But it's still a step in the right direction. The solution I arrived to is to play until you lose a game. This idea was inspired from my league days when I wanted to trick the system into thinking I would stop playing if they gave me bad teammates, but ever since I've applied it to chess, I've been playing much more consistently and even gained a significant amount of elo from it. Uncertainty in outcome is somewhat mitigated since losing is now inevitable, unless you somehow win every game for the rest of your life. I find it's a rather neat workaround. Since there is no solution that will remove the uncertainty in outcome from a single game, we instead focus on the outcome of a single session. And that feeling of satisfaction is also removed since you will never ever be at your peak elo, meaning you will always want to continue chasing your next goal. Another added benefit to this is to avoid tilt queuing, which is seemingly more popular among those who are facing ranked anxiety, but this is a subject for a future video. I like this idea more than making games play the objective, since it no longer feels like a chore, and you can adapt it to how many games you are willing to play in a certain session. Maybe one day you're feeling good and want to play until 3 losses instead of 1. It was this method that got me to 1800 the very first time, along with the openings I studied, of course, but since uploading that video, I have kept up this mindset and reached a new all-time highest rating of 1869. Do note that there are downsides to this, the main one being that it requires a lot of self-control. Stopping on a loss has always been kind of hard for me, but I've been getting used to it more and more, and God forbid you lose your first game of that session, since that can be extremely tilting. Another one is now losing not only brings you -8, but also makes you stop playing. Different people will react differently to this fact. Some will be glad their session resulted in positive elo gains and almost celebrate their loss, which can be dangerous. And others will see it as an extra punishment to losing, which might make them even more anxious. Yeah, it's by no means a perfect method. If you watched my video on slumping, you will recognize this as advice, and know that advice is risky to follow blindly. You need to judge for yourself if this method works for you or not. Just because I have seen positive gains since I implemented it does not mean it will benefit you. But either way, I wanted to share this change I made to my play since I think it might be helpful to some of you. Thank you for watching.